You've been told your entire life to let go of the past, to move on. Don't dwell on it. It's always painted as this heavy anchor, keeping you from sailing into a bright future. But what if that's the worst advice you could possibly get? What if the memories you're trying so hard to forget, the challenges you've buried deep, the mistakes you replay in your mind at 2 a.m., are actually the secret key to unlocking the future that you want? See, this isn't about living in the past, it's about using it. So I used to treat my past like a junk drawer, full of pain, failure, betrayal, addiction, and burnout, something to slam shut and never open again. But over time, and honestly, through a lot of weeping and crying and healing and walking with God, I started to realize that drawer wasn't full of junk. It was full of tools, specialized tools that I earned, tools I bled for. And today I want to help you reframe your past like that. See, we're going to explore three powerful practical ways, backed by science and my own story, that your past isn't your prison, it's your superpower. We're going to dismantle the bad advice and show you how to strategically use your own history, the good, the bad, the unspoken, to build a more resilient, optimistic, and purpose-driven life. So stay with me, because this might just change how you see yourself. So let me start with this. And maybe the most enjoyable way your past can help you is revisiting that highlight reel. Now, I'm not talking about just mindlessly scrolling through old Facebook photos or watching old videos from a better season. I'm talking about the intentional act of recalling moments of real joy, moments where you felt fully alive. You know what I mean? The deep belly laugh that caught you off guard, the pride of finishing something that cost you everything, the moment you heard, "I'm proud of you," from someone who mattered. See, we usually brush this off as nostalgia, a temporary escape, but neuroscience says something different. When you intentionally relive a positive memory, your brain releases chemicals, dopamine, endorphins, that physically reduce stress. It's not fake, it's not fluff, your nervous system. You see, one study found that people who recall joyful memories in the middle of stressful situations saw their cortisol levels drop significantly. That's not psychology theory. That's biological transformation. So think about it. Your good memories are like emotional charging stations. When your soul battery is drained, you plug into one of those moments and experience real, measurable relief. I remember a few years ago that I was about to walk into a very stressful situation. I was going to the Soldier of the Year board. My heart was pounding. I felt like a fraud. I didn't think I needed to be there, but I stopped, sat down, and I closed my eyes and thought back to the time when I went to the first board that I went to. And I knew that I had it all down. I knew that I could do it. I remembered the room. I remembered the people. I remember my NCO telling me how great I had done before, and that my breathing, it began to slow down. My body, it relaxed. And I walked into that board, not as an anxious man, but as a grounded one. And so listen, your highlight reel isn't a scrapbook. It's a survival tool. It's a gift from God. So let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt pure, uncomplicated joy? Can you picture it right now? Don't just remember it, relive it. That memory isn't just a pleasant moment. It's a tool in your belt, a reminder that you have overcome before and you will again. You see, your scars are a blueprint for resilience. All right, the highlight reel is great, but let's get real. What about the hard stuff? The heartbreaks, the failures, the moment that wrecked you, the times you didn't bounce back right away. What do we do with those? That brings us to the second surprising way your past can actually help you. Reframing your greatest challenges. You see, the world says to get over it. Church people, they sometimes just say, forgive and forget. But bearing pain doesn't heal it. It just gives it roots. So here's the truth. The obstacles you've overcome are the very forge where your resilience was formed. Resilience isn't a personality trait, it's a muscle. And like any muscle, it grows under strain. Every challenge you faced and survived has added a layer of strength to your soul. You just may not have seen it yet. This ties directly into what Stanford psychologist Carol Dweck calls a growth mindset, the belief that your abilities aren't fixed, that they can develop. You see, challenges aren't walls, they're hurdles, opportunities to build. When you revisit a hardship, you'll feel the shame or guilt grief first. That's natural. But don't stop there. Think of it like this. It's a grain of sand enters an oyster. It's painful. It's irritating. But over time, that same grain becomes a pearl. See, your hardship, that abuse, that divorce, that diagnosis, that betrayal, it may have been a grain of sand, but it holds the potential for beauty and strength. You see, I've lived this. I once poured everything, time, energy, money into my ministry. I thought God had led me to be a part of this, and he did, but it failed. And I was devastated. I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. For a while, I even avoided thinking about it. But eventually, I went back to that failure, not as a victim, but as a student. And what I saw shocked me. I learned more from that failure than any class I ever took. I learned how to budget. I learned how to lead. How to spot a character in others. And even more, I learned who I was when everything crumbled. And I didn't hate that man. I respected him. So what about you? What challenge nearly took you out, but now holds a blueprint of how you lead, love, or live today? Maybe you became more empathetic. Maybe you learned how to ask for help. Maybe you developed a strength that no one sees, but God does. You see, that's your blueprint. Your scars aren't signs of shame. They're proof you healed. You see, your mistakes are a roadmap to a better future. We've mined the gold out of our scars. Now let's talk about something even more raw, your mistakes. If you're like me, you made dozens. You said the wrong thing. You've hurt someone you loved. You've let out of ego instead of discernment. You've lost money. You blew trust. It's easy to let those mistakes define you, but here's the truth. Mistakes aren't moral failures. They're data points. Think like a ship captain. If you hit a hidden reef, you don't throw the map away and beat yourself up. You mark it with a big red X. You study it. You chart a smarter course for next time. You see, the same goes for you. There are two keys here. Number one, self-compassion. Stop dragging yourself through the mud. Would you talk to your son like that? Your best friend? No, then don't do it to yourself. Next, curiosity. Instead of replaying the shame reel, put on your detective hat. Ask, what really led to that? What was I feeling? What triggered me? What could I try differently next time? See, I used to be terrible with money, and I'm still not that great with it. I was an emotional spender. I'd buy something to feel better, then regret it instantly. For years, my inner dialogue was, you're just bad with money, you're irresponsible. You'll never change. But one day, I got curious instead of critical. Why did I buy that thing? It turns it wasn't about the item, it was about the dopamine. I was stressed, I was burnt out, and that purchase was my medicine. So I made a new rule. When I feel that trigger, I pause. I walk, I pray, I ask somebody about it. Now I've got a map. What's the mistake that still haunts you? Could you stop beating yourself up long enough to ask? What's the one core lesson this mistake is trying to teach me? Write it down. That's not a regret. That's a rule for your future self. So if this idea of redeeming your past hits home, if you're tired of pretending you're fine and you're ready to lead from your scars, not just your strengths, hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell so you don't miss another message from the Redeployed. And in the comments, tell me which of these three resonated the most. Highlight reel, scars, or mistakes. I want to hear your story. You see, you're not alone in this. For too long, we've been told to move forward, we have to cut off the past. But that's not biblical. That's not human. That's not real. Your past isn't your prison, it's your foundation. Your highlight reel is your fuel. Your scars are your strength. Your mistakes are your compass. You're not disqualified. You're just redeployed. So let's walk forward together.